There are people, more and more people leaving town because there's not affordable housing. There's a house on Sheffield, tiny little 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $375,000 going for. There's some crazy things going on in the housing market, and I would love for the CDA to be paying a little more attention to maintaining some level of affordability.
Can I ask, because that gets back to like, where, do we have enough information about, if we're gonna get into housing and affordability, do we have the information in terms of what's going on in this market? That's why I was like, I saw the collaboration with BWM to assess the Shorewood housing situation. This seems like
To me, the housing is the same as the toolkit. We don't have enough information. We need to get smarter. To me, the first step is getting smarter about
so like
what is
that's a baseline.
Yeah, I feel like we're at baseline.
It feels like that's
for
our
all of
action,
these.
that's what our action item should be right now,
Yes.
is getting more information, so, because housing should be something we're looking at.
Mhm.
But we can't make any educated decisions unless we get some baseline information. Same thing with the business situation, so again, to me, my new ears keep hearing, we need information and we need some research. That seems to be
That's where I was
the,
going.
the.
Or pull
the-
together what we already have and be up to
Yeah,
date,
and
kind of
for me
research.
personally, be educated on what's there now and how it's been working and that, but that to me seems like the number one action items, for the next, I don't know, couple months, few months.
I recommend that you go back to the neighborhood assessment report that's still valid and the Central District
It's on
Master
the
Plan
website.
that shows the gap in housing versus demand. And reach out to the top 2 realtors in Shorewood and get a report from them.
Yeah, and I guess that information.
But that doesn't address
Yeah,
does
baseline.
that address affordability? That
The realtors can speak to that.
We talking about
Does
rent
the neighborhood
affordability or
assessment
purchase
is-
affordability?
Right, because that's
The-
another,
Cause you can't
We gotta break
affect
down
purchase.
We are not a
affordability.
first-time home buyer market.
Mhm.
They've been saying that forever.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
maybe we need to attract a headquarters to help bring down, I don't know.
right, so then it gets back to employment. and
Go
all that,
12
but
stories, have a headquarters.
I think, I guess all this, information gathering is good, and I would like it through a staff lens in terms of
what you can do.
boots on the ground, and team skill set, because that's where we get the biggest bang for our buck, is aligning what we want to do with the capacity with which we have to do. And even if that means work style, I work really well with something written down like a 12-month plan or a 6-month plan. If that's the way we need to adapt, then let's adapt that way so that we can really get some clarity, and because we are in a time where there's a lot of feedback, and it comes in an array from constructive to very personal, and so we need to support each other, so that we're still making decisions that move the community forward and meet needs, understanding that there's going to be opinions about that. People are very, it's a very sort of active time. So I guess it's.
I want to get back to what Erica was talking about with this survey of, folks who were looking at Shorewood and decided not to be here. You might want to add to that, you may be doing this too. I'm thinking of the 2 properties, Wired, with Blair Williams.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing with their, I think he's just got one empty right now, is that correct?
Correct.
The old ice cream or yogurt place, but that's been empty for quite a while.
Mhm.
And I would assume that he's been actively trying to fill it, and I don't know if you know exactly what he's been going through, but you might be able to gather the same kind of data from him that you're looking for in these other places. And by the same token, filling that last, is it 1 spot or 2? I think it's just 1 spot left on Mosaic. So
That's-
asking,
That's about to,
that might,
Almost have I see there.
okay, all right. Great.
Okay, this has been very good discussion.
Do you have next steps? Okay.
I'm not not sure. I'm not sure I have next steps in my mind.
I think where I hear is you'd like some feedback from staff as to sort of what their perspective is of these priorities. It's like, so it's more of a two-way street, and what you can get done, and like what questions you want answered from us. Because it's a little bit, you got a lot of moving parts here. From in terms of like getting information, in terms of like what, whether you're addressing housing, whether you're addressing retail vacancies. What's your perspective of where to start and what kind of feedback you need from us, I think, is the missing piece.
Well, I mean, I think, and you can jump in, it's a whole conversation. For us, it's gonna be based on the topic. Okay, so, I think we can definitely come back to you and say, okay, here's what we're looking at here, and like collaborating with you on what direction we need to go to a next step. Because we are concerned about going to a next step and not having agreement before we do.
Yes,
Okay?
yeah.
That's a concern I have.
Yeah, no, we have to do that step. I need that step.
So, but at the same time, that also hampers some of our ability in the interim. My second request is that if we go down this path, that we have to do so in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
Because I know that you guys are talking about, and it's all good. This conversation's great. But the reality is that Bart and I are still in the situation every day where people are like, well, what can we do here? And
What
they,
can we do here in what sense?
they want to talk to us about development and will you look at this parcel with us? What opportunities would there be with this? And we can only get so far with the zoning without knowing what the goals are, what we should be, how we should be guiding people.
Yeah, see, the thing is like, that's actually important information for us to have, because we don't know what demand is out there, what's realistic, what questions people are coming in contact, gets back to a little bit of the survey, but also like, what's the possibility out there? Because if you're getting calls that are realistic, of course we wanna be able to assist with that.
Or assess it, and
Or
determine
assess
if we
it,
can
yeah.
assist or
And
want
what,
to assist.
so that's important for us to kind of know, like, what you are, what the incoming requests are. And maybe that ties into us being able to give you feedback as to priorities. Because some of this stuff, to me, seems like a good thing, but it might be pie in the sky. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's a way to operationalize what you're looking for? So like if we had a motion before us right now to give you direction that would help you on that day-to-day level, what would it sound like?
I mean, the main question I get is about assistance, and if it's not an existing program,
Is there anything else?
I don't.
Are you willing to do anything else?
Yeah, like I said, do I say, well, let me ask the CD, or let me ask the board, or let me ask this? But I also don't wanna bring things that just are non-starters, or that,
Assistance beyond what's currently available?
So be creative to,
correct.
And is that because I'm looking in TOSA and they're offering me this, are you gonna match it kind of assistance, or
I mean, it could be that,
like,
it hasn't been.
are we
that
competing, or
yet.
is it more like we really wanna be insured, there's no way to make this work, we need it, we have this gap, I don't see a program that fits the gap, that to me is, I'm not clear on that, like what's the assistance need?
We'll get to it in the planning and development report, but someone wants to redevelop Downer Mobile. And whether or not, I don't know from my very brief time working with them, how real and what the numbers actually are in that, but the main question always comes back to, how bad does the village want this, and what can you provide us to make this happen? We're researching it, we wanna know, and this just came up in the past like week or two, so it's not, I haven't been, holding back on it, but I've been giving him answers, and I can feel that he's getting antsy, saying, I don't think that you're giving me as much as I was expecting I could get out of you, in terms of, yeah, we'd be happy to research a TIF district there, or, we'd let you go, buy a house behind you and expand the development into the residential area and all these things. And like, he asks a bunch of questions, which I understand are great to know, I just feel like I'm hesitant in my response, and I feel like he's picking up on that, and I don't wanna detract him if that's the real thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I also don't wanna promise him things that I can't be promising.
So how would we, as a body, give you direction? What would that look like?
So I guess I like the concept of the four, areas you picked, and in that particular instance, I'm sure clarity on number 2, the TIF development process, and
Yeah.
if I knew that the CDA would support a TIF district, if affordable housing was involved, or if X was involved, I could go back to them and say, my understanding is we'd be willing to entertain a district under these parameters, or something like that. And it is all situational, so I'm not asking, for this grand etched in stone kind of,
Exactly.
instruction manual, but that's where I'm coming from, not understanding what the support level is for something like that. I hear affordable housing, is something that we want. Would we also take other housing options there? Do people wanna keep the gas station? I've been told that people,
Right.
like that service station, and then
Yeah.
am I on the hook for, attracting someone that removes a community asset kind of thing, so. I mean, it's all in a day's work, I
Well, and
understand.
Well, and that's private market too.
Right,
Because
yes.
the
Right.
owners of that property are interested in selling.
Correct.
Right.
So there are private aspects, private sector, there's private activity that then bleeds into our
Mhm.
public activity, and that's a completely
Right.
understandable loop to go.
Mhm.
So as far as us saying we wanna keep a mobile station there, well, the mobile station, if they wanna
If they-
close, they're
correct.
gonna close.
Right, correct.
So,
But
Well,
also,
it is
but it also
senseless-
speaks to priority areas within the village in terms of where we feel development should be, and there's some
Right,
information on that.
that are site specific,
right.
Yeah,
and not each site is the same,
right.
so, I don't know, but, we were like, oh, if they wanna focus on these 2 sites, well, learn everything we need to know and come back to them and say, okay, here what our options are.
Exactly.
But,
It's 2 different approaches.
we don't wanna spend time doing something that's not gonna, yeah. But maybe that could be something we could get to later,
Right.
looking at sites.
So there's nothing,
But you do have some site
Yeah, in the
direction,
master
I mean,
plan.
so that would, in a way, like, play into your answer,
Mhm.
to the, cause I don't, that wasn't on the list of high priority sites.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
right?
Another reason why we're kinda checking in.
yeah.
But I do like the 4 things, and if we can move forward on each of these 4 aspects, I think that gives at least me a great understanding of where we're moving.
Yes.
And the research aspect to me is great, because being new, I'd like to, have a clean slate of research and facts and data of what we're all debating and understanding to move forward. So the actual wording of these priorities, I think, might still need to be fleshed out, but from my perspective, I like the direction of the topics. If you guys have consensus on those topics, then at least I understand what I, should be looking into to support you in identifying what to move forward with.
Could one direction be, for next meeting for staff to bring us sort of the next chunk of information they need to know the answer to in order to take the next step that they've heard us talk about,
If these are our 4 priorities.
If these are our 4 priorities, which
buckets, if you will.
I support these priorities. Do you wanna adopt these first and then sort of?
4 or 5?
They're fine.
Operational is sort of a separate.
Yeah.
I think that's a separate. Some of those to me are kind of quick hit things that we can.
Right, just housekeeping.
They're, I would call them more housekeeping, so I think it's the 4 on them. And not necessarily, this is not prioritized.
Right.
Or
They just
priorities,
exist.
Yeah. So do we have consensus on
I
the
think so.
4 categories of?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Mhm.
So then where does that leave us in terms
Well,
of?
I think we do need information that like information that would be helpful to you, like what are you looking for from us in terms of direction?
What do you need agreement on?
Right.
So that you can spread
Okay.
your wings a little bit and bring more
I think that's simple
back.
enough.
Mm-hmm.
Is that concrete?
It may not come like, oh, here's a question we need, we'll
Nope.
answer it at the
No.
next meeting, move forward, but just like a process of getting there.
Is that
That doesn't take,
months?
really, well, it's just that, it's no different than what all you guys are doing. You can't just like stop the world for 6 months and,
Right.
we're a business.
Mhm.
Right.
Things are
So I wanna
happening
like,
every
I
day.
wanna make sure that we're being diligent with our business resources. That's the part that I
Mhm.
struggle with the most, so. You
Does
know,
it feel like this approach does that?
sure,
Gives us
I
a
think it's
shot?
great because
Okay.
it at least allows us an opportunity to maybe provide you with feedback where we haven't been sure, perhaps how to kind of assist in that process. So,
And I don't think we know what you are feeling day to day, you know, so like that, you know, even like kind of like looking at it through that lens and
Mhm.
sort of like what we need to give you back to be able to do the work you need to do.
when there is inherently more laser focus from the groups that we work with, we can be extremely effective.
Mhm.
We can
Okay.
be extremely effective for you.
Mhm.
Whether it's this group, another group, but it's having that laser focus. I mean, and I've said this before to the group, I'm just, I'm not a fan of doing a whole lot of stuff and only all a little bit well.
Mhm.
Because I think that's really a challenge, and I think it's confusing to other groups who you partner and work with, cause, you know, we have the board, we have other groups who also may have some synergy with what you do.
Mhm.
So the more we can get focused on what are we gonna do, whether that's short, it can be short and long-term goals. Just so you know, that always happens since mechanical's on the top, they can't stop it. For the new guy, I could answer the question all the time.
I thought we were gonna
You get
do
used to it after a couple months. But so, you know, that's where we ideally we wanna be. If you can't be there, I understand that too, and then we'll go a different direction, but that's kind of what we can definitely take a look at some stuff and come back and have another conversation at the next meeting with your 4 buckets.
I guess the laser focus part, I'm gonna need, I think just sort of bringing that lens to our discussions
Mhm.
and helping us, give us an example of where we are on a scale of 1 to 5 with laser focus. You
Got
know,
it.
because I like what you're saying, but I just don't know how to match it up with,
Sure.
what we do and what we pick. So
Okay.
one approach that comes to my mind is, you know, rather than us giving an opinion about what's most important in this, it's like, of these 4, what's the first step for you in each place?
Yeah.
That's gonna get us on a road that's
Yeah.
gonna be really effective,
That makes sense.
based on what you know.
That works for me.
And then we
Yeah.
fill in what you don't know.
Right.
Is that?
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be more fun than putting together your list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this is like collaborative.
I have direction. We have direction.
That was a good discussion.
That was
Yeah,
great,
well,
and 1 minute to 9, Peter.
Time to adjourn?
Right on schedule. Oh, can I just ask the last piece that's on the,
Yep.
so I have draft annual reports for the CDA. John, great.
Okay,
Um,
can't wait to dig into that this
Mm.
weekend.
burning desire. So, Ehlers has typically come back to the group and gone through a review of this. This is a little different than in prior years, because it's pretty much you're done with what you've been doing, it's a reported document, so I don't expect much of it to be very, new news to you, but it's reporting with the new numbers. So would you like him to come at the next meeting for no more than 30 minutes? And I'm imposing the no more than 30 minutes. Or, report to this group. I know in this conversation in the past, like I've seen you guys do this meeting with the board. Do you still wanna do that? And then just have him come for that one meeting with the board? And if so, I'd recommend that you do it before a regular board meeting for no more than a half hour.
So Rebecca and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. My thought is, I think it would be appropriate for Mike to be here at our next meeting where we review the document. And, he is the expert, has compiled it. I think we could have questions for him. It is a bit of a, it's just in the past, there's been a lot more activities, whether it's development activities or moving monies to the CDA that have been involved in this. This is more, I don't wanna call it a static document, but it's a bit of an update because there's not a lot of activity going on behind. But I still think it's appropriate, that might come and give us the 30 minutes I think is appropriate
Okay.
update on the document. With respect to the joint meeting, as I told Rebecca, I would sort of defer to the board. If the board feels there's a need for a joint meeting and to go through it in detail, or is it an item on a regularly scheduled meeting and I'm there and maybe Mike's there and we're available to answer questions, so, you know, I would defer to you and Allison if she's here. I don't know. Again, I don't think it's as important as it was in the past to have the joint meeting. I think to some degree we were asking for action from the board. There was a lot of sort of formal things going on. We don't really have that anymore. It is, I think, I mean, we'll have to look through it, but I feel like it's more of an FYI to the board. Here is the status of the TID districts based on updated information. We're not really asking for any action from the board, so I don't know, I don't wanna waste people's time with another meeting.
That's
to
where
go
I was
through it.
coming from.
Yeah,
I was like,
I would agree with
I'm gonna
that.
check in.
But again, if the board feels it's, I mean, you know, there's a new board, you know, there's new people, so, maybe it is appropriate to have more formal, but I guess as the CDA, I'm comfortable doing what the board feels is appropriate to get them up to speed on this. I don't-
If we don't have a meeting though, I'd say, you know, I always talk about, people don't know what the CDA does and
Yes.
what's going on and being
Yep.
transparent.
Yep.
This is like a great report that the public knows what's going on.
Yeah.
If there's a way
I
to
think it gets.
promote it in the village managers,
I think we've done that in the past.
we have tried
Yes.
to bump it up to, you know, here's an opportunity
Short of
to
stapling it to everybody's
understand.
garbage cans.
Right.
We know
To
people
understand
need whatever's
what's
on
out
the
I know,
garbage
this was
can.
kinda heavy
That
in
is
my
the number
fall.
one.
Never inside the garbage can.
How much discussion do you want, or feedback do you want today about it, given the part? Do you want direction, or?
Yes. Yeah, because
I
I
think
think
it's
the plan is
meaningful.
next meeting, we will review the document with Mike here, so everybody between now and then obviously go through it. I'll get up to speed on it, Mike will provide us an update, and so that's that part, and then the question of the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I look at that meeting as an opportunity, it's a chance for the village board, the action that we take is adopting the annual report. And, so I think that that's valuable to do in an open meeting that's separate. And then I